if Zachary can manage it with a couple, let's say, inventive translocators, this could turn sour for Mangachu. He's forced to drop to the low ground.
Well, you know what? If you're going to be going out, you might as well go out with your key DPS player on his most notable hero, Mangachu. On the far.
XL2 likes to play this comp, and they were playing this comp more than I'd say other teams, just for the fact that they like Adam playing Comfort Mercy pick, and being able to have him pocket Mangachu more often because Mangachu plays more aggressively, so having Goliath play another main support in Ana works well for them, and the fact that they can prioritize healing both Mangachu and the tank line, so it works well for them. But when you don't have that defensive ult and a team is playing very aggressively into you, it's very important to be kiting at the proper times and then being able to reset in certain spots. So
Discord and a couple shots from Ana can really turn things quickly. Maybe a little bit of pick damage from Sombra. That Pharah can get bursted faster than you would expect. But there is one upside there, is that
the space that they can actually take right now is actually pretty poor as well. So Alarm and Elk are actually playing in a very smart spot. I don't know if we can get a good angle of it. Is this 1080? It looks so bad. So he's playing to spam right here, so we can see where everyone's standing. Fusion does this again and again and again. So smart with their positioning. Beast Halo scouting, blocking some rockets. Everyone else is playing forward enough where they're getting information and they're not allowing people past this line. This big line right here. They're saying, no moving past this line. Our supports are safe. And then you can see Elk and Alarm are both playing back here. So they're able to sit in a very, very safe spot where they're playing in a building. They potentially have line of sight of anyone they want who's on the ground here. They're not going to get flanked unless it's by a Sombra. So Mangachu's options are very limited here. He's trying to spam. He's not getting any room. He has to fly around. When he flies around here, he has now the potential to spam, but there's actually no threat on the supports. So it's again the same situation. Supports are standing right here. Sure, the tanks are out in the open, but again, it's the same thing. Ana's able to free sit in the back and heal the tanks that are playing very far forward. So the amount of space they're getting is very, very little. Nene's basically done nothing. He's just been getting information. Adam's been sitting with Mangachu the whole time, and Elk's been spam healing his tanks who've been playing far forward. They're about to get this window where they can abuse this. Mangachu can start to make this rotation where there's actually not much threat on him in the air unless he's playing in range of the Ana and the Zen. But he can wrap around with Adam, and they can basically be a three-man execution unit. So it can be Nene, Mangachu, and Adam that can all come behind here and potentially just create like a wraparound. So like the pharmacy would be coming in through the window back here. So there'd be the window, and then the pharmacy would come in and they'd be spamming rockets, and then Nene can potentially like play right here or just play underneath, and then they can just look to execute on them. These supports who are alone right now because every one of the rest of their members is playing very far forward on the cart.
Nene scouts the back line, but Alarm picks off Goliath. This could shut things down for XL2. I don't expect them to commit to this fight.
Goliath has been a favorite target for Fusion University, whether it be Alarm, whether it be Who Are You. They're diving on the Ana in the back.
Adam ends up wrapping around, I think, to try to res this, but... Or does he just let him? Nene's still getting information. They need to like get a kill and like execute on this backline. It's taking them so long. Oh, it's so desynced. It's so desynced. Mangachu's making his rotation right now. You can see him in the air. He's making his rotation. Nene gets too antsy. He's going for it. Imagine he chunked Alarm really hard right here. he gets a lot of headshots, gets him down like decently low. Imagine if a rocket was just to instantly follow right here, he'd be killed. There's no res for them anymore. If they're buying enough time right here, the tanks on the front line aren't going to get any healing. Goliath is actually going to be sitting in a spot where he's not going to have much threat on him because there's going to be no discord. The tanks are going to be able to play that aggressive, so he fades out, and then Mangachu's walking up here. It's it was so desynced though. Like, sure, they were capping the point, but we can see that window where there was actually a chance for Fusion to swing things back if they had a window of time, where it would have been very easy for both of them to just get insta-killed before, and they wouldn't have actually gotten as much ult charge as they did. And there was actually no one playing to protect them, like in Garden.
Who are you, though? Falls off the map. Unfortunate mistake there. Bernard and Biselo both able to retreat to spawn and be re-healed by Elk. Now with two support ults, are the Fusion University looking to recontest this second point. Biselo misses his initial jump, but the EMP still stops Adam from escaping here.
Ooh, Biselo again making so much more.
Yeah, they have a window to recontest because they let the Ana get so much healing before.
With two support ults, are the Fusion University looking to recontest this second.
Mangachu got killed before. So there's actually nowhere for the Mercy to jump. I hate this. I absolutely hate this. The enemy team is coming to recontest. You can see them on the bridge. Why, oh why, do supports sit on the cart still? You're going to get engaged on. Why not sit back in the garden, play very safe, force them to overcommit for you, and then no one's going to be on the cart? Or Fusion's supports are going to have to touch the cart, and then your tanks are going to be able to clean them. I hate this where there's nowhere for him to fly to. The tanks are in the front line, Goliath's hiding from him. There's no Mangachu. They have Sombra who's flanking. He literally is like allowing Fusion's tanks to touch the point and kill him at the same time, getting him god tier value. And then Goliath's like, I'll walk up to save you. Oh, I just killed myself. Ugh, it infuriates me so much watching this. It's so bad. Like, hold on, let's see. Like, put both your tanks on the cart right here. Put your Mercy and your Ana back here. And Bernard was able to jump like from here to here. He had a scuffed jump. You think he's going to get the same value jumping from here to punish the Mercy, who's then going to get pocketed by the Ana, or the Ana that's going to get pocketed by the Mercy, and then give time for them to come back? He's going to like isolate himself, and then they're going to basically trade positions where the tank is going to go over here, then their tanks are going to go right here, but they have the option to basically play behind this wall, and whenever Beast Halo is like going to be this far out, there's not going to be the chance for him to get healed by anyone because they're all going to get like blocked off by this archway. So losing a fight due to poor positioning is very infuriating to watch, especially something like that. How does Adam get killed here? He just gets killed to Elk alone. They can't stand in that position. They have to do the wraparound.
something done with it, but not able to find anything there. Oh, and unfortunately, potentially
I think he's
Bash into the
swapping.
pit. Yeah, maybe Lux wants to go to Ryan here. Maybe he wants to change things up.
It's got to be a swap. I don't think. I mean, maybe he did get hacked to the pit, but man, that'd be tough. Is he going to come back on the Winston after that? Ooh, he is. But here comes Nene. Looking for who are you? Came close.
Did Clone Man just IRL tilt off the face of the earth on a contenders match? Contenders finals match? He literally just fat fingers a primal and then takes it off the map.
Looking for who are you? Came close, but the support coming in from Beast Halo keeps who are you alive.
Fusion looking like they have XL2 completely figured out, but XL2 finally with a decent stack of ultimates here. This EMP could be a game changer if they can find the Zenyatta. Nene not committing though.
Goes for the hard hack instead. Doesn't EMP now out of the fight as he repositions. They're looking for Beast Halo. They gotta get the top.
They do something to isolate them, but the problem is it's got to be this isolation right here.
Could be a game changer if they can find the Zenyatta.
This is what you do. The bubble's down, the isolation's on. Every member has to commit onto these two that are caught alone, where they can't get as much effective healing. Every member has to come down and attempt to kill them. It can't be this weak commit like XL2 is doing. Because they give them time, Nene's out, the members are now committing on them, but the space has already been taken back. The supports are now going to start healing them. It's too weak. It has to be like a much harder commit. At the very least, they can start to get ults out from them. But it feels like they're not being aggressive enough to take the space.
Absolutely ready is Bernard, ready to get on his face and just block that barrage. Mangachu's going to have it very hard here to find something valuable.
He's waiting for it. He didn't feel like he'd do enough.
Faking it out.
Matrix too big of a threat. Now under pressure, holding, looking for the D-Mac. Use the brush for it, but you see Bernard just get away. He's going to remech.
Oh, it looks like they're just tilting super hard. They're not getting any value from any abilities.
The Dragon Blade though looks to clean up this fight. Doesn't find the Mercy, not getting the dash reset there, unfortunately. Goliath, nice dodges, but not enough. Who are you? Still finds him in the end.
Look, he named this Dragon Blade the Dream Killer, and still good enough. Now we go to the Shurikens, going for the D-Mac. XL2 falling one by one. Who are you on the cleanup? Overtime.
Who are you? Kills everyone.
Fusion University now so close. Talking
On a high call time and time again.
grand finals. So
Getting first held on.
I was thinking this map was going to go much longer, but I assume the just time after is just the award ceremony.
The entire game, so things are not over yet here in the Overwatch NA Contenders Finals. Could be the beginning of a turnaround for XL2, but they're gonna have to change something, and maybe this is it. Getting very aggressive on the spawn, hoping to stifle Fusion's compositions, not give them the space that they want to set up on this dive.
I've seen this before.
For XL2, but they're gonna have to change something.
XL2 is playing Goat's variation, and they're playing very close.
Aggressive on
Hey Fusion, do you guys want to swap to hard counter us? Yes, please.
the spawn, hoping to stifle Fusion's compositions, not give them the space that they want to set up on this dive.
this is all sorts of Finland style right now, where you get in a team space zone.
Oh, they are lucky they ate that nade, otherwise that would have been an instant loss.
Want to set up on this dive.
This is all sorts of Finland style right now, where you get in a team space
Goliath is having to play super close right now, otherwise he's going to get isolated.
zone. Rialto, you get a little bit of extra time, and I'm not sure if it's gonna work. Beast Halo goes.
But I'd say standing that close to the enemy team is isolating yourself enough.
You get a little bit of extra time, and I'm not
Because they're trying to defend him.
right now, where you get in a team space zone. Rialto, you get a little bit of extra time, and
But the problem is, you're going to get shot at by these two. Oh, I changed my pen type. Because it doesn't really matter. These two are going to shoot you on the high ground. Monkey's going to jump you. Bernard is just waiting for the shield. And then Zachary's also going for you. So you are perma-dead here no matter what. Who uses their cooldowns to save you? They attempt, like they try to anti. Beast Halo gets antied. They try to stun Zachary, but at the same time he's just dead.
work. Beast Halo goes in. Goliath down first again. Alarm was able to find him on that support v support matchup. Cloman's out of it, and Fusion, they deal with the early aggression quite well.
We talked about what cannot happen. Alarm picking off Goliath. And once the first pick of the fight, exactly that. So great understanding by Fusion, playing that slow, not rushing out of the spawn. They take their time, they get the setup. Alarm producing there, and there's just nothing XL2 can do once they lose their Ana. That's really the heals that they're relying on in this composition. And the risk of playing so aggressively forward like that is you've given up so many ultimates when you've lost the fight here. Everyone on Fusion at near 50%, that means they're going to get a full 6 stack of ultimates almost all at the same time. That could be a massive power spike for them.
They're coming to recontest, and like, I think it's again the same problem where they have the supports and like a very good position to sit and do whatever they want, and the rest of the members are on the ground baiting, where the Rhine composition has to walk into them because they're pushing the point. And this is basically the last fight zone that they get. The problem is they engage on them, and then the supports get to free reign on the backline. Do you mean for World Cup specifically, or just normal patch? It's basically almost over, so I can just finish this pretty quickly, probably. Elk and Alarm are taking free shots on Goliath. Well, Ana's broken in World Cup because there's a bug with Winston that's getting abused by the two teams that won everything, US and Fusion here. And it's partially that, and it's partially if you're not like there's no way to beat it. So like what XL2 has been running into, the problem this entire series is let's focus everyone else besides the supports, and hopefully we can isolate them and kill them. But then Ana Zen provides so much healing on its own that they never die, and then they get ult rotations, and then they get Nano, and then they win a fight literally off Nano, then they win a fight off Primal because Primal's bugged, and it's super buggy and broken because he's doing max damage with every single one of his leaps. So they're winning off that alone, and then I think every time they've played to try to counter it, they've not run into the right solution. Like in King's Row and this map, they were playing Lucio with like goats and trying to run onto them, and they were running Ana Zen, and then each time they tried to just run onto them, they were just getting isolated, and like one member would get themselves picked, or Elk and Alarm would be rotating so much sooner than they would have ever be able to get caught that they just never get caught, and they just get rotated and run in circles all day long. The problem is also XL2's picked goats on defense twice now, and then got instantly counterpicked by this Doom Sombra comp that can't be killed, and so they never die, and they just farm them. And they showed their hands of Goat's defense as soon as they did every single map, where like they just swap in 5 seconds, they play to counter him, and they just win that fact. So it's like the Ana Zen never get dove because they can't get dove when you're not playing Winston, when XL2 isn't playing Winston. And then they've had like the proper members, so like Bernard or Who Are You will like take turns like bodyguarding the team. If they're playing like this Rhine composition, every single time they've even gotten close to diving them on the high ground, Who Are You literally just will uppercut the Rhine or the Lucio away from the team, and then they can't dive them anymore, or they can't run onto them. So they've like never had a chance to get any value. Yeah, let's see. Did I not do a good job of explaining that? I feel like I did a good job of like why Ana's so good. Like compared to Moira, she just does so much more, and she's so much more versatile, I'd say. Well, I just listed a bunch of other reasons as well. It's partially because Winston's broken, partially because she synergizes so well with other heroes. XL2 is staggering onto this point because they scuffed the first fight so hard. Okay, so that's over. Why is Anna so good? So you're just saying Anna with Rhine. So it gives you more options than the Moira does. So the Moira is, I have to be playing close with my tanks to get value. Anna is, you get the option to play either, and you have the chance to potentially play her split and have your tanks play in like a different position, have them play flanky. You get the option to play off Bionade, where Moira doesn't have that option. She either has her heal orb or has a damage orb, but a lot of times doesn't get the same value because there's so much healing getting traded, where you have that window where you can hit an anti and then your team gains the advantage, and if they can't match that or if they can't like protect themselves, then you can win fights just basically off that. If you're playing Rhine v Rhine and your Rhine gets nanoed and their Rhine doesn't get nanoed, then potentially you can just speed boost your Rhine in, out cleave them, and then that's the main DPS that's just going to have the advantage, where he's doing 1.5 times the amount of damage that your Rhine's doing. So teams can just get run over in that fact. The Moira isn't getting enough value on her own with the amount of heal output she's doing if the team is antied, so that's the problem. Where, yes, Beam can be bidding value, but how many times are teams clumping as much as they are now with goats? Yes, they clump sometimes, but I feel like you're going to get out DPS. Like your Rhine is going to be receiving more damage from a nanoed Rhine than he would be receiving from just getting perma beamed, and then he's going to get outpaced on his shatter as well, and then he's going to be getting pushed back, so you're going to have to be using your speed to get him away. So it just snowballs into a lot of other things. Where the Anna is just too versatile right now. You don't get that consistent healing. You don't get that consistent healing where it's just like, I can heal my entire team, but the amount of poke you're receiving, goats v goats, isn't significant enough where I'd say it's as important. Where with the Anna, you just get more options, which is the biggest thing. You also get the sleep dart threat on the Rhine, where you don't get that same thing with the Moira, where he potentially has to like out mind game even more. Yeah, it's always about execution. Like, you can just have people poking into each other and like non-committing all day long with goats, and no one's going to get punished if the main healer stays alive. The way things get exploited is basically, I watched the Runaway series and I learned a lot about how goats is played properly. What they did a lot was basically play to bait, make plays, which is off like execution only. So what they do repeatedly is they would bait and look like they were creating disadvantages for themselves, forcing the other team to make plays onto them. So like they would basically put their Rhine out of position, like Bumper would pin in basically off cooldown regardless, and it would be like, hey, he's in a bad position, let's come in on him. They would walk forward, or they would whip shot the other Rhine. So Runaway would whip shot Kongdu's main tank into a bad position, and Kongdu would be like, okay, we either have to walk up and help our Rhine or let him die. Create that execution of like, sure, we might have a Moira, sure, we might be able to like save him with pocketing, but if they create that execution advantage where they're like, okay, we've isolated someone, now we can make a play off of that. So then Runaway was literally able to always just like, okay, let's turn on to the next person, or fuck the Rhine, we've isolated him enough, he's no longer a threat in this fight, we've baited them into us, now let's kill the other members. And so what they did super well was just like always isolate Rhine, then get another member who was walking forward to help the Rhine. And they used, I guess they used Anna a little bit more than well, they used it way more than Kongdu, but they still used Moira, but it was still the same game plan of like let's out execute always. It was never like run in and just swing almost ever. There was always just a plan to use whip shot, boop, something to isolate themselves. And then there was also a lot of baiting of like, let's let ourselves get shattered, let's let ourselves get grabbed, bait the other team to walk into us, and then counter shatter them, counter grab them, bomb up in the air so it like makes them scatter and then isolate the people out of that. So they did like super good at that. And then in this instance, it was like XL2 was just spamming Rhine all the time into Winston. Winston's getting nanoed. There's no way to defend your team when they're playing Moira. The Moira's like throwing heal orb out and like trying to pocket her teammates, but Winston's getting like 60% ult charge, cleaving the entire team. Because the Moira has to stand so close to her team to actually heal them, where if they were potentially playing Anna, they can sleep the monkey, they can play to anti him, but Beast Halo's getting free healed from a mile away because he's getting so much room, he's getting so much ult charge, and they're just out ult rotating over and over and over again. So
University, you are the champions of Overwatch Contenders Season 2.
A crushing 4-0. Fusion looking so dominant there, just playing at an absolutely other level.
they aren't super excited. It isn't as bad as the Chinese finals where there was literally one high five and they only started smiling like 2 minutes after they had won. It was hilarious to watch.
They had the reverse sweep to stay in it. XL2, and they take their
Great game, just really are you together.